What is up guys, Andy Forest Team Runner here, and these are the shoes in 2020 I wish I tried. So that's 8.5 miles done and dusted in the Brooks Hyperion Tempo out there on a beautiful crisp winter's morning with Lee burning off that Christmas dinner. I hope you guys had a lovely Christmas if you celebrated it. If not, happy holidays. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. Today is all about the shoes that got away, the ones that I was not able to test sadly this year. I love to buy shoes for a reason, for a purpose. They all fit into my rotation. I do my best not just to buy shoes for the sake of it. I love to buy a shoe because it's going to be a speed shoe for me, an easy day shoe, a racing shoe. And these ones that I'm about to talk about are the ones that cropped up when I probably had too many of a similar type of shoe already in my rotation, and I just thought to myself, they're just going to sit there collecting dust. But you guys can chip in the comments below and let me know if I really did miss out on something special, or if it's something that I did pretty well to end up not buying. If you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll dive in to the list. We'll kickstart with the Saucony Endorphin Shift, the one that I didn't get in the trio of shoes. The trilogy would have been complete if I'd have got this shoe. Now at the time, again, as I said, I had too many easy day shoes. I'd seen contradicting reports on how good or how really average this shoe was, but either way, I wasn't going to let that deter me from getting it. I was really determined to get my hands on a pair, but sadly, I just had too many easy day shoes in the rotation at the time, and I just kind of knew that I wasn't going to get round to testing it as much as I want. The Endorphin series, the Endorphin lineup this year absolutely blew me away with the Speed and the Pro, and obviously next year if they come out with second iterations, which I've seen some photos floating around on Instagram of a Pro version 2, which is very exciting, and I will do my best next year to try and get the trilogy. But this year sadly we did not end up getting the Shift. The Hoka One One Clifton 7 was another shoe that passed me by this year. I remember saying last year in one of last year's videos, I must try the Clifton lineup this year. And once again, I just had too many easy day shoes in the rotation. I think if I remember rightly, I was really enjoying the Prism, the New Balance Fuel Cell Prism at the time. I also had the Nova Blast, and I had something else on. I think I was testing the Pegasus 37 at the time, and it was just kind of like overloaded with shoes in that realm. And again, once I just knew I was not going to test it as much as I wanted to. The Clifton lineup, I heard so many and have heard so many great things about it. From the Clifton 1, the original one which blew people away, to the fact that the lineup basically declined over versions 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then started to pick back up again in 6. That's the general consensus that I'd heard. So I knew that from the 6 I really wanted to try it. That slipped me by. This year I thought the Clifton 7, that's the one we're going to end up trying out this year, and once again it passed me by. And I really am curious to hear your thoughts on the Clifton 7 because I absolutely love the Rincon. It's a great shoe, and I gather the Clifton is a little bit more durable, a little bit more heavy, and a little bit more good for those logging of easy and steady miles. Let me know in the comments below, especially with that one, because I'm keen to hear your feedback. And this is an interesting one. It's the Beacon version 3, New Balance Beacon version 3. Now a lot of you guys know I was not a massive fan of version 2. The midsole was a little bit firm for my liking, but I gathered when it was released, and I'm saying this because I couldn't pick it up on release. Once again, just like so many other shoes this year, they did not release a UK size 13 in the initial colorway. It came about 2 or 3 weeks later in another colorway, but by that point, I'd heard some reports that actually didn't feel any different to the version 2, and it didn't feel like the Fresh Foam X that was in the 1080 version 10, which is what I had hoped it to be. Now, I kind of at that point just put it to bed and thought, okay, maybe I've dodged a bullet, but New Balance have done so well for me this year. About a month ago, I went back onto the New Balance website. There was a discount code floating around. I thought, oh, I'll try and pick some up relatively cheap and see how they feel. And I'll make my own mind up as to whether they do feel like the V2 and the V3. And even if they do feel like the V2, I still put them to good use last year, and I would do the same this year. A super light, nimble and versatile versatile trainer, good for a lot of things, but sadly I couldn't get them because at the time they were sold out once again. Here's another curveball for you. It's the Alpha Fly, a shoe that really just completely passed me by in the beginning. I was not interested in trying that shoe. In fact, I can't remember when it was released earlier this year, but I actually only picked up my first pair of Next Percents earlier this year. I think it was in and around May time when I got those. And I thought to myself, I've already just spent £240 on a pair of super shoes. I'm not going to then go and spend £260 for a shoe that I'd heard reports was not quite as good as the Next Percent. And following on from that, a lot of people have found the shoe very hit and miss, but once again, for me, curiosity is getting the better of me. It's not a shoe that I feel comfortable imparting with that sort of money on, and I would wait to see at some point if I could get my birthday discount, maybe use it at that point to pick up a pair, but that will be next year. It's just a shoe that, despite me absolutely hating the Tempo Next Percent, I kind of feel now that I've had a taste for testing out all of these super shoes. I'd love to just see how this shoe feels on foot. Everyone says that the Next Percent, or a lot of people I should say the Next Percent is still a better shoe, but the Alpha Fly really does excel over the marathon distance. It does make your legs feel even better than the Next Percent does after the 26.2 miles, which is hard to believe because when I ran a marathon in the Next Percent, my legs felt amazing. It was brilliant. So if they're meant to feel better, that's incredible. So once again, it's just a shoe that I think to myself, should I have picked a pair up earlier in the year? Should I not? They've been out of stock on the Nike website in my size now for a good month or two. And I'm kind of sat there thinking, have I missed a chance? Or actually, once again, have I dodged a bullet? Let me know in the comments below. And I've saved the most frustrating for last, the New Balance RC Elite. Now, once again, originally it did not release in my size. However, I gather over in the States and other places it released in a US size 14, which is a UK 13. Now, I love the New Balance Fuel Cell TC, and when I heard there was a racing option, I earmarked that shoe, and for months I was just waiting and waiting for news as to when this shoe was going to drop. So you can understand my frustration when it dropped and there was no size 13 for starters. And then I heard that the shoe ran slightly small to size, which then made me think I have actually had to size up in a few New Balances. The Tempo earlier this year is a great example. The Propel last year was another example where I had to size up. And I thought to myself, actually, if it's rather tight and snug and I had to size up, there will be no size up for me to go anyway. But once again, I'm still really curious that at some point, maybe, just maybe, the 13s might get released over in the UK, and if they did, I would certainly do my best to get my hands on a pair. I'm all down for a super soft cushion racing shoe. A lot of feedback I've heard is that it is very soft. Some say a little bit too soft. That's good for me. The TC feels nice and soft, and even if it doesn't end up making the cut as my racing shoe, I can imagine it will be an absolutely incredible long run shoe. Just a few extra mentions at the end here. The Ride series from Asics is one that pricked my ears up that I'm now going to wait until next year to check out version 2 of maybe a couple of those shoes. The Glide Ride and the Evo Ride in particular. I think the Meta Ride was a ridiculously very bad feedbacked racing shoe that really was massively overpriced, so I completely bypassed that. But when the Meta Ride came out, that started to get some good reports, and then the Evo Ride was also something that a lot of people raved about. Now, I opted for the Nova Blast because my ears had been pricked up, as I said, and I thought I'll give Asics another shot, and I was not obviously disappointed because I picked up Shoe of the Year. So what I will do is probably next year look for version number 2 of the Glide Ride and the Evo Ride, and maybe snag one of those to give a good test. In terms of brands I want to explore a little bit more next year. It's definitely going to be Ultra. For me, that Ultra Olympus 4 this year I tested was absolutely incredible. Absolutely loved it, and I'm curious to learn more about their brand. The foot splay, the toe splay at the end is a beautiful thing. It makes you realize how we cram our feet into toe box, or some of the toe boxes that we do. And Adidas is a shoe that a brand that I just cannot test. I can't because they don't do my size, but the ones that they do in my size are the trail shoes, and they also do anything to do with boosts. So I've seen Solar Boosts and I've seen Ultra Boosts in my UK size 13, but anything in the Adios lineup and the SL20s, all of those shoes, sadly I can't test. So what I'm going to do is make the most of it and try some of the shoes that I can try. Those are the shoes that got away from me this year that I really wish I tried. Make sure you let me know in the comments below, and any of the choices that I have just mentioned, what you think of them. Did I dodge a bullet, or have I really missed out on something special? And also let me know in the comments below the shoes that you really regret not being able to pick up this year, or what you'll maybe be waiting for next year when they go into the sales to pick them up and try out yourselves. Once again, I hope you had an amazing Christmas, or if you don't celebrate Christmas, hope you had a happy holidays and having a great time enjoying your running. If you enjoyed today's video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then.